The easing of quarantine measures was supposed to bring relief to Canadians returning from abroad. Yet some travelers have reported getting a knock on their front door from authorities to see if they were staying home, despite being exempt from the 14-day quarantine.
So I was getting reminders through email about following the rules and to stay home for 14 days. So I kind of got nervous a little bit.
Just days after Canada's quarantine rules changed in July, Chris Coates was already on a flight to visit his 94-year-old mom in Belleville, Ontario, who he hadn't seen in 2 years. If you've received 2 doses of a Health Canada-approved vaccine and tested negative within 72 hours of boarding, the federal government says you can skip mandatory quarantine. But Coates, who lives in Hong Kong, says he was still subjected to follow-up enforcement after landing in Canada.
Somebody, I think, from the government did show up at my mom's residence. I wasn't home, but to check on me. And then on day 14, the local police in Belleville actually showed up at the door to notify me that my quarantine was over.
You must use ArriveCan to submit your contact and travel details, including where you've been and where you're going.
You're also required to use the travel app or its web portal to log your vaccine information and test results before heading to the airport. CityNews called the ArriveCan hotline. It says,
fully vaccinated travelers who are exempted from quarantine and testing requirements may still receive phone calls and or in-person visits from the Government of Canada.
And if the knock on your door goes unanswered, this letter says police will be called.
This type of behavior undermines public confidence.
An air passenger rights advocate says the exemption was not only intended as a travel perk, but a way to encourage vaccination.
That person, as I understand, has received proper vaccination. They have no obligation to quarantine. Those citizens who are diligently doing their part should be left alone.
Coates was never too concerned. He was told by the company that conducts testing at the airport he wasn't breaking any rules, and to ignore the daily notifications he was getting about quarantine.
I took comfort in that. But had I not had that conversation, and with him showing up and the police showing up at the door, it's always a bit unsettling.
Belleville police tell CityNews requests for follow-up visits are made by the Public Health Agency of Canada, but officers do not receive any information about your vaccine status. Now, the government was not able to answer our questions in time for broadcast, but the ArriveCan hotline says if you are fully vaccinated and receive one of these visits, tell the agent you are exempt. Caryn Ceolin, CityNews.